Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And before the sitting was suspended last week, I listened with interest to over 2 hours of debate, so I know that the arguments have been well made, and we will review them again. But one thing that all of the arguments have in common, these are people who generally entered into these schemes under the impression that everything was above board based on what they believe to be good and sound advice from accountants and advisors and from banks. These are people who in many cases were entrepreneurial, self-employed individuals, and it's important to stress that as far as they were concerned, they weren't employees, so they didn't gain from the security of the benefits which come with most forms of employment, such as sick or holiday pay. To all intents and purposes, they were simply self-employed. I would urge the Minister to consider putting the loan charge on hold and consider an independent inquiry. And I think it's important that before we do so, also we reflect on the way that things have been changed as well. I want to end by saying and recognising the changes which have been made by HMRC, which now promotes targets the promoters of tax avoidance schemes rather than the individuals who enter them under the impression that they were legitimate. And I'd argue that there is a better case for pursuing those who promote these schemes, and this approach is successful. Only 2 weeks ago, HMRC won a legal case against a tax avoidance scheme provider, Hyrax Resourcing Limited, collecting £40 million of unpaid tax. And as I understand it, Hyrax users were paid just enough to comply with the minimum wage, with the rest of their income made up in loans which were transferred to an offshore trust in Jersey. And the reason that this is important is because it contrasts with the way we're doing it now contrasts with the way that we were doing it previously. The way that we're approaching this now is in the right way, because we are approaching it through the promoters. We are closing it down in the legitimate way, the way that we should expect to do this. And I think it's important that the people who were going back to 10 years, 20 years of being pursued, they want to see that it is done in the right way, and we should put this on hold now.